So what makes copyrights different? It's only protection if someone is copying it. So it's a reproduction is the key, right? So my suspicion is that there's going to be some changes in the copyright law in the near future because with the digital streaming, which all of these things, they're sliding through, right? So if you stream something, one of the things that, if you remember, like Napster and stuff got in trouble for, right? It was because you were replicating it onto your system. So you were downloading it, and now you had another copy. Where a lot of these other systems like Kodi and like, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but they're these, streaming device or open source platforms that stream. The way they're kind of sliding under the radar a little bit is they're streaming, not downloading. So it's not a reproduction technically. So it's a very fine line. Yeah. So it's a very fine line on how to do it. Now the other issue is a lot of these systems or a lot of these streaming places are so decentralized that going after them is a nightmare in and of itself. So, if they have a system set up in a country that we have no ability to enact a jurisdiction over, and that's what the servers are, it's hard to go after them. But they're able to kind of slide under because they're streaming, not replicating. So the reproduction is the key on that, and so they're kind of sliding around that. The other important difference that I think is really important to hone in on copyrights is if you create, let's just say Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. So you create that song. You don't know her, never seen her, don't know what she's working on, and you create Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. You both have legal, legitimate copyrights. So now, granted, the chances of that may be incredibly small. However, the only way you're violating a copyright is if you're taking it from somebody else. If you come up with it on your own, you can have 50 of the exact same creations and 50 legitimate copyrights. Okay? So, fortunately, I think the creativity in our minds and in our world is so vast that it doesn't happen very often, but it can happen. And so it's an important thing to notice or to realize is that when we get to patents, we'll realize that it doesn't matter if two people create them separately. If someone has one, they got it. So it doesn't matter how creative that other person was and how they came up with it on their own and how long they've been working on it. Someone filed and gets one before them, they own it. So that's a big difference that with copyrights is you can't stop somebody from creating the exact same thing without knowledge of what you've created. Okay. Now, as you can see, that can be a little difficult at times, right? I mean, for someone to come up with the exact same thing without any affiliation. And so most of these arguments, so I brought up Stairway to Heaven because there was a big case that happened in California, and basically there was a band that they toured with before they created the song that claimed that one of the big riffs within the song was also in their songs, and that because of that, they got it from them and used it in their song. So they had to prove all that links. They were not able to do it, and Led Zeppelin didn't owe them $1 trillion because of how much money that song's made them. So it worked out for them. But that's the kind of thing that they had to prove, right? Where if this was a quote-unquote patent type of a scenario, they wouldn't have had to go through all that. They just had to prove that it's the same. So, they were able to prove that, look, it's a pretty similar or almost identical riff. They couldn't prove that they got it from them. So that was the trick. Again, it does not need to be in commerce. There's no need for that. There's no requirement for that. It doesn't have to be consistently sold. That's all fine. There is an expiration to a copyright. So currently it's life of the author plus 70 years. Now there's an interesting thing that, whether you're like interested in copyrights or not, it's worth going to be following. 2023 Mickey Mouse expires. So when Mickey Mouse was about to expire in 2003, in 1997, there was a lot of lobbying that happened that got the copyright extended another 20 years. Up until 97, it was life of the author plus 50 years. So it's called the Sonny Bono Act. So they got that through. So now there's a lot of talk in the intellectual property community about what's Walt Disney's, Disney trying to do now to get the extension on Mickey Mouse. So I don't know if they're actually going to get it, because I don't think it's going to go contrary to most of the world to change it now. This is more consistent. So it'll be interesting to see, but that's something to look forward to, because in 2023, when it expires, then any of us can go out and start printing T-shirts with Mickey Mouse on it. You can't do anything about it now. So
they can stand outside of Walt Disney.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as long as they're not on their property. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. So what I have noticed, Slow, if you notice over the last, we'll say 5 to 10 years, Walt Disney's kind of shifted away from Mickey, though, right?
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
That's true.
Like, you're not seeing that he's not the lead right now, right? And I think mostly it's a decision because of this, right? So they want to reduce the value slowly. Like, he'll always be the guy, right? But they want to reduce the value of kids wanting those shirts and give them more of the new characters that they have a longer time period on.